Hugh, just coming out of the town hall now, and very interesting, Portrush Urban District Council and everything you said about it, but we're now standing outside, and I just have to ask you this question because of the town hall and the people in it. In your views, who were the people that made the big impressions and did so much for Portrush? Not just in your time, even before your time, from your research and what you have learned about people. Who were they? Can you name them?
I could name some over the years. There were many people who played a part in building up the town. I can think of people like people I never met, but I've read about, like Chalmers, Mr. Chalmers, who was a leading businessman, and I think had a role in the creation of the Arcadia. There was Catherwood, the Catherwood Arcade. Have you?
All news to me. You tell me.
I was going to say it. I mean, does that mean anything to Catherwood Arcade? The Catherwood Arcade was the building that stood above the Arcadia at the end of the row of buildings. It's still shops as far as I know. Okay. It was originally a very modern arcade built in the 1920s. In fact, I remember doing a story for the Chronicle that I believed it was the first shopping centre in the area, and there was a cafe and 6 shops all situated in there. It was a lovely building.
And was that coming out onto the main street?
Yes, just opposite the Methodist Church.
I know you.
If you know the building, I mean. And
okay.
I think it's always a single building now. It was opened. We had people like Mr. Pollock, the local hairdresser, had a place in there. Miss Bruce, who had a clothing shop. In the 1920s, the coming thing was electricity. The new electricity office had an office actually in the Catherwood Arcade, and it was known as such for years. Catherwood was one of the names I remember.
What about people like, you know, the man, they lived up just Bushmills Roadway, they owned the bins. What was that man's name, and the basalt company that brought the stones down? Was that Mr. Kennedy?
There were Kennedys, yes. Kennedys had quarries, Kennedy's quarries.
Yeah.
And the bins were, I'm not quite sure who actually constructed the bins, whether it was a harbour company or not, but the bins were a feature of the harbour that sadly has
But businessmen and businesswomen in the town, is there anybody sort of comes to mind? You've talked about W.R. Knox and people like that.
Harry Hamilton.
Tell me about Harry Hamilton.
In fact, I should say Henry Hamilton, because Harry was his son, but Henry Hamilton was the man who founded the White House.
Oh.
He wasn't a Portrush man, actually. Came from Tobermore, I think,
right.
South Derry. Came as an apprentice to a shop in Portrush, Bamford's. Bamford was another of the big business names there. And he came as an apprentice, disappeared, leaving a lot of debt and a pile of clothes beside the River Bann, and everybody thought he committed suicide.
Yeah.
In fact, Mr. Hamilton had taken off to America, where he stayed for a fair number of years before he returned. But he came back, and he made good every debt that he had left behind. Because when he came back to claim his bride, young lady that he had been courting before he had to disappear. And he called a dinner somewhere, possibly the Northern Counties, I'm not sure, and invited all his debtors there. And beside every place with a brown envelope containing the money that he owed them.
Isn't that wonderful?
And having become an honest man again, having proved that he was an honest man, he founded the White House.
Mm-hmm.
And let's face it, the White House, the founding of the White House, was one of the great inspirations for the town.
Mm-hmm.
If the White House hadn't been there, would Portrush be what it was today? I don't think so.
Mm-hmm. It would have been the biggest shop in the town.
It was the biggest shop, and every year it expanded. Without, almost without exception, for 10 years, it doubled in size every year. And the Hamiltons, of course, are still, we still have Rory Hamiltons
Yes,
here.
absolutely. Going back a little bit in time, Hugh, with people, can you think of anybody that away in the distant past that we should be thinking about the contribution they made?
The one man I always go back to in the early days is the Reverend Simpson, the Reverend Jonathan Simpson, who was the first minister of the Presbyterian Church. And in fact, I've been able to trace a family connection there through my mother's family. So I like to think I have a little bit of the Reverend Simpson in me, because he was a remarkable character. He built up the Presbyterian Church. He ran the lifeboat for 30-odd years. He was very much the towering figure from the 1840s right through to 1900. And if you met him in the street, he always had a bundle under his arm, brown paper bundle full of tracts, religious tracts. And he would give you a religious tract.
Right. Very good.
And you hung on to it. You didn't throw it away until he disappeared anyway, because he was known to write into the Chronicle and say about so-and-so who had met and had been given one of these tracts, which they had then tossed away.
Interesting. Some very interesting people. I think we'll leave it there, Hugh, in the meantime, and we'll come back to something else in a minute or two. Okay.